The Dungeon Master Experience is a series of articles written by Chris Perkins in Dungeon Magazine in 2011. The following readings are his words, and though produced before the current edition, still contains great insights, advice, and tips for Dungeon Masters for any edition, and for that matter, any TTRPG. Epic Fail, 8/18/2011, Wednesday night. A legendary cutlass has fallen into the hands of the dragonborn warlord Vantajar, one of the campaign's major villains. He's a level 30 solo brute with an elemental warship, a crew of epic pirates, and a half-dozen storm giant mercenaries riding thundercloud chariots. Seeking the cutlass for themselves, the adventurers board Vantajar's vessel and engage their hated foe head-on. Despite the fact that they're only 24th level, they're outnumbered 7-1. As the storm giants hurl lightning bolts at the party spellcasters, Vantajar brings his cutlass down on Kale, the party cleric, dropping him dangerously close to his negative bloodied value. With their own ship too far away to render assistance, the heroes are in dire straits. Failure is not an option. It's inevitable. Never underestimate the resourcefulness of good players. When things look grim, when the cold eyes of death seem fixed on their characters, they somehow find a way to turn certain defeat into victory. One of the players might figure out a way to regain a spent power or healing surge. Another might whip out the half-forgotten magic item or plot detail that can tip the scales in the party's favor. Many times I've stacked the odds against my players and watched them frantically search their character sheets and campaign notes for something, anything, to turn the tide. And even when nothing presents itself, there's always a chance that their luck could change, that their cold dice might suddenly turn red hot. Hell, I've seen player characters call out to the gods, throwing themselves at the mercy, and on a rare occasion have allowed the gods to toss them a bone, particularly if they've earned it. Not this time. The Wednesday night characters have thrown caution to the wind and acted rashly, and they're doomed to break like waves upon the rocks. At least, that's what I'm expecting will happen. Even as I write this column, the battle is still playing out. However, it's safe to say that I've stacked the deck against them. How could I not? Throughout the entire campaign, Vantajar has been touted as a supreme badass, a legendary renegade who surfaces like a giant shark in the nightmares of child and sea king alike. What makes good drama? In a word, failure. You can't have drama if the heroes never fail. We all know the story of the good guy who faces the bad guy before he's ready and gets his ass kicked. What usually happens next is that the good guy deals with the consequences of his failure, learns a valuable lesson, gathers his wits and self-confidence, and delivers the villain's comeuppance. Story's an oldie, but a goodie. The first article in this series, Surprise Epic Goblins, talked about using lower-level challenges to make player characters feel powerful. It should come as no surprise that higher-level challenges have their place in the game as well. I use them all the time, not to be cruel, but to reinforce the notion that some challenges aren't balanced for the hero's level, forces the players to switch gears, trying different tactics, and rely on more than their swords and spells. It also makes the campaign world a scary place, even to epic-level characters. It's my job as the DM to make sure that the hero's failure doesn't spell the end of the campaign. If the Wednesday group prevails against all odds, I'll have to work harder the next time they come face to face with a major campaign villain. If Vantajar defeats them, the campaign isn't over, for I have concocted logical reasons why he'd want to keep his enemies alive. Here's a behind-the-curtain glimpse of what I'm thinking. To give you an idea of the thought process that went into planning the likely outcome of the hero's failure, Vantajar desires to use the legendary cutlass to unite the Sea Kings, the merchant lords of Iomandra under his banner. Once the old feuds are cast aside, he will command a navy greater than the Dragovar Empire. He plans to use it to himself become emperor. However, he needs to present the cutlass before the eye of the Kraken, an artifact hidden in the island fortress of Krakenholt, and be judged worthy of its power. Only then will the Sea Kings kneel before him. Chris Young's tiefling character Diamos is better known as Sea King Imstinger, and the supremely arrogant Vantajar wants to see his enemy broken and forced into servitude like all the other Sea Kings. To kill Diamos and his companions now would deny Vantajar an even greater victory, not to mention the ships under Sea King Imstinger's command. In the event of their defeat, the characters will be knocked unconscious, deprived of their gear, and hauled to Krakenholt. En route, a dangerous helping of torture will deprive them of their healing surges and any ability to take short or extended rests. Without their precious magic items and their encounter in daily powers, the heroes will be hard-pressed to threaten Vantajar directly. And yet, I can imagine all sorts of reversals. They might convince a disloyal crew member to return a useful magic item, such as a sending stone. Maybe they'll ride out their journey and take their revenge as Vantajar presents the cutlass to the eye of the Kraken. If all else fails, perhaps fate will intervene on their behalf. Maybe Vantajar is attacked en route by a Sea King determined to stop his ascendancy. The resulting battle affords the heroes a chance to reclaim their gear and win their freedom. Or maybe the Eye of the Kraken will judge the evil warlord to be unworthy of the cutlass, denying him his destiny. Villains become much more interesting when things don't go their way. They are, after all, dark reflections of the heroes. Lessons learned. Sometimes a DM has to be cruel to be kind. Sometimes, for the sake of suspense and good drama, you have to drive the heroes into the dirt so that they can pick themselves back up, sharpen their game and their blades, and stage a storybook comeback, becoming even more powerful than when they faced defeat. Here are some helpful tips to guide you. Be transparent. Give your players hints that they might be in over their heads. It's okay to set the characters up for failure. Just don't be surprised if they succeed. If you expect the characters to fail, and they fail, know where to take the story from there. Many players don't like it when their heroes fail, die, or both, especially when it happens during an unfair encounter. My players understand that I am not on a quest to annihilate their characters or make them feel like useless tools. And so should yours. In classic and modern fiction, heroes rise, fall, and rise again. The unfair encounter is something you can use occasionally, emphasis on occasionally, to rouse your players and propel your campaign in interesting new directions. If your players are unaccustomed to being trounced, and you're worried that they might turn against you, you could do worse than sow the seeds of their eventual comeback. Tell the players how much you're looking forward to seeing how they remedy their character's latest misfortune, and plant a few hints as to how they might succeed next time. Maybe the villain's subordinates are badly treated and can be turned against them. Maybe the heroes can discover a weakness to exploit. Maybe the villain lets down his guard, or makes a classic blunder of overconfidence. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Just as the best heroes have faults, so too do the best villains. We'll tackle this subject in next week's column, and I'll put a few examples not only from the Iomandra campaign, but also from the adventure I have in store for Acquisitions Incorporated at this year's live D&D game at PAX 2011. Stay tuned until the next encounter. Also, don't forget to follow the link in the description to pick up my first ever adventure and setting for free on Patreon and DriveThruRPG now. Dive into the desert region of Gondolar as adventurers making their way to the budding city town of Silt Pass in search of gold, glory, and answers to the secrets of a long-lost empire. In this first adventure, your heroes will defend the Dune Dancer, a sandcutter airship from a legendary group of bandits known as the Stormbringers. Do you have what it takes to stop the Stormbringers and their bombastic leader Tharok, or will you make a deal with the devil of the sands and join them? Decide your destiny in the first of 6 adventures. TSI, Tharok, Stormbringer, Ironmane.